From Wish TV and the All Indiana Podcast Network, this is the News 8 Daily 8 Podcast with Wish TV's Kylie Conway. A Wish TV News 8 update.
Hi, I'm Kylie Conway, and this is your News 8 Daily 8 for Wednesday, January 18th. A dry start to the day, but that is going to change after the lunch hour. By tonight, widespread rain with pockets of heavier rainfall. Isolated storms are going to be a factor. Can't rule out some isolated strong storms south of Bloomington, Columbus line with gusty winds being the main concern. Highs will top out in the mid to upper 40s. Ukrainian officials now say a helicopter crash has killed 16 people. It's breaking news that we've been following all morning long. It happened in the capital city of Kyiv. The helicopter was so badly damaged that it's hard to make out what it is. It's just burned to a crisp. The Ukrainian government says that all 9 people on board died, including 6 Interior Ministry officials. Another 7 people on the ground died. Police say 30 people are in the hospital, including 12 children. Earlier this morning, police said many of the victims were bringing their children to kindergarten. It's not clear whether the crash was an accident or the result of the war with Russia. No fighting has been reported in the Kyiv area recently. The Security Service of Ukraine is now investigating the crash. Indianapolis police say a woman is stable after a drive-by shooting. It happened at a home on West 31st Street near Harding just after 12:30 this morning. IMPD says a man and a baby were also in the home and are safe. Police say officers found at least 20 shell casings at the scene. No information on a potential suspect has been released. The mother of Lauren Spear is remembering her daughter nearly 12 years after her disappearance. Charlene Spear shared a Facebook post yesterday in honor of what would have been her daughter's 31st birthday. It included a photo and a message to Lauren describing her grief. Charlene Spear writes, "I am filled with debilitating sadness. This day for me is overshadowed by those responsible for your absence. They walk hand in hand with you, reminders of how fragile life can be, how in an incredible instant a life can be taken without conscience or recourse." As we've reported, Lauren Spear disappeared in June of 2011 after a night out with her friends in Bloomington. Her body has never been found, and police have not made any arrests in the case.
The boy keeps lying. A boy keeps lying. The boy keeps lying. A boy raised now. Shame! Shame! Shame!
The decision to appoint another temporary Indianapolis Public Library leader has critics erupting with frustration. The library board passed a resolution yesterday to name Anita Hardin as Chief Administrative Officer for 12 months. Calls to appoint interim CEO Nichelle Hayes have failed. Protesters say they're concerned Hardin's temporary role will only rack up costs.
As board member Murtada spoke, all the additional costs that this whole search is continually to be a burden on the taxpayers.
I believe this is a good first step for that. If we are looking at the climate improvement recommendations that were made, several of them are related to governance.
Yesterday's meeting was not open to public comment. The next public meeting is set for January 23rd. Indiana Congressman Jim Banks is explaining his decision to run for U.S. Senate. The Republican representative announced his campaign yesterday morning. Banks has represented Indiana's 3rd congressional district since 2017. He's running to replace Senator Mike Braun, who's running for governor. Banks says America is at a crossroads and needs conservatives who are not afraid to fight back against Democrats.
It's just an opportunity that at the end of the day, I couldn't pass up, especially because the last 6 years serving in the House, so many frustrating examples of watching what's going on in the Senate and just not seeing a fight, a big enough fight against big spending, a big enough fight to restore America's military and confront the China threat, a fight against wokeism.
In a response statement, the Indiana Democratic Party says Banks represents what voters despise about politics and that Hoosiers deserve an elected official who will set aside Washington's special interests and focus on creating a better future for everyone in Indiana. Some House Republicans are moving to impeach the Secretary of Homeland Security. Representative Pat Fallon of Texas introduced articles of impeachment against Alejandro Mayorkas yesterday. Fallon claims Mayorkas failed to enforce immigration laws and lied to Congress about the border being secure. The head of the House Judiciary Committee has indicated impeachment proceedings will move forward if the full Republican conference backs the move. Part of the Soldiers and Sailors Monument in downtown Indianapolis will be shut down for repairs this month, and the closure could last nearly a year. General Stuart Goodwin with the Indiana War Memorials Foundation confirmed the details for us this morning. He says fencing will go up on the north side of the monument next week. Crews will remove all of the steps and inspect them for water damage. Any damaged steps will be replaced with new stone from a quarry where the original stone came from. The project could take 30 to 45 weeks. Goodwin says the south side of the monument will not be affected. Several Indianapolis community groups want the city to stop approving charter schools. The call comes after the news that the Him by Her Foundation is about to close its charter school. The IPS Community Coalition, Baptist Ministers Alliance, and Concerned Clergy of Indianapolis contend charter schools are failing children in Indianapolis. The president of the Community Coalition says far too few charter students pass both their English and math exams.
The choice schools, they sold this reform based on we would see amazing increases in academic achievement, particularly around children of color. This has not happened.
ITMate reached out to the Indiana Charter School Network for comment. A spokesperson for the agency says charter schools are highly accountable and outperform IPS schools academically by a wide margin. Indiana's first riverboat casino is up for sale again. Currently known as Riverboat Louis Armstrong, it originally opened in 1995 as City of Evansville. The current owner, New Orleans Paddle Wheels, renovated and reopened it in 2017, then announced this week that it plans to sell the boat. The price tag, $16 million. Oral arguments will begin in the appeal case of former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin. Begins today. Chauvin was sentenced last summer to 22 and a half years for the 2020 murder of George Floyd. Chauvin's attorneys have accused prosecutors of misconduct, arguing the case should not have been tried in Minneapolis and the jury should have been fully sequestered. They also want the court to review whether the trial should have been delayed due to its high-profile nature. Chauvin was convicted after viral video shows the then officer kneeling on Floyd's neck and back for more than 9 minutes. Floyd's death led to protests over police brutality nationwide and around the world. A professor at Indiana University says the housing market is in a crisis. He says low-income families and those with disabilities are impacted the most. IU professor Fran Quigley says rent has gone up 20% over the last 2 years. He says a recession would only make a bad situation worse. Every week, Quigley and his students represent tenants in eviction courts. They're seeing the lack of affordable housing firsthand. Quigley says nationally, 7.5 million households are behind on their rent, while another 5 million are behind on mortgages. He says that's like putting the entire population of Pennsylvania and Illinois together and saying they are all likely at risk of losing their homes.
Now, we spend enough money on housing to fix that. We spend tens of billions of dollars a year in tax breaks for corporate landlords, tens of more billions of dollars a year on tax breaks for the wealthiest homeowners in our society. If we take that housing money and instead devote it to housing for the people who need it the most, we can make sure that every single person in this nation has a safe and secure place to live.
Quigley says housing subsidy programs are so poorly funded, only 1 out of every 4 eligible families actually gets help. And if we do find ourselves in a recession, he says there will be more unemployment, more people struggling, and will end up losing their homes. Quigley says the people most likely at risk of losing their home are families with young kids, seniors, and people living with disabilities. A new Indianapolis housing initiative aims to increase the amount of Black and Hispanic homeowners. According to city officials, homeownership for Black residents dropped 14% in the last decade. The goal of the Vacant to Vibrant program is to develop dozens of vacant homes in the near Northwest, Martindale, Brightwood, and East Side neighborhoods. The program is supported with $4.5 million of the city's allotment from the Federal American Rescue Plan. A neighborhood advisory committee will work with the city government on proposals before projects are awarded. Proposals submitted are due to the Department of Metropolitan Development by March 31st. And to business headlines, gasoline demand normally slacks off this time of year, and according to AAA, gas demand is unlikely to pick up until we get closer to spring break. Gasoline prices are rising, nevertheless, with the biggest increases seen in Colorado, Georgia, Indiana, and Nebraska. The nation's most expensive markets continue to be Hawaii and California. AAA says the current average price in central Indiana is $3.41 a gallon. A month ago, it was $3.03. The Union for Southwest Flight Instructors approved its contract, while the Union for the facility's maintenance technicians voted on a tentative agreement. Southwest is still negotiating with several of its largest union workers, including flight attendants and its pilots union, which filed for mediation last September. Apple reached a deal with investors to audit its labor practices. The tech giant will assess its compliance with its official human rights policy. It's according to a federal filing. The audit comes amid complaints by federal regulators and employees that the company has repeatedly violated workers' labor rights. Twitter is auctioning off coffee makers, office chairs, and a neon logo as Elon Musk struggles to pay rent. The 27-hour online auction, organized by Heritage Global Partners, Inc., is the latest sign of upheaval at the company. Generation Y, also known as Millennials, and Generation Z accounted for all of the luxury market's growth last year. Analysts and luxury executives say the appeal of luxury brands to ever younger consumers is tied to a surge in wealth creation over the past few years, along with social media. Luxury sales have so far been largely immune to rising interest rates, a slowing economy, and high inflation. And a new Devour India event starts soon. Starting Monday, the 23rd, you can get a 3-course meal at a special price at nearly 100 different restaurants around the area. Organizers say restaurants are hitting a slow post-holiday stretch, so the Winterfest aims to bring in more business. The specials will last for 2 weeks. To see the restaurants and prices, just go to the As Seen On section of wishtv.com. There is a link there with more information. This has been your News 8 Daily 8 for Wish TV. I'm Kylie Conway, online at wishtv.com, and follow us on Facebook when you search Wish TV.
This is the News 8 Daily 8 podcast with Wish TV's Kylie Conway. A Wish TV News 8 update on demand for even more on demand and on the go. Connect with Wish TV on Facebook at wishtv.com and on the free Wish TV mobile app. Thank you for listening, and be sure to like, subscribe, and follow this podcast for updates every weekday morning on the All Indiana Podcast Network and wherever you get your podcast.